One of the familiar names from the Pawn Stars show, Chumlee, was unexpectedly arrested in a raid in Las Vegas. Initially, he was under investigation for a sexual assault case, and while the public believed he was the main suspect, the arrest warrant was not directly related to this charge. The story surrounding Chumlee is just the tip of the iceberg, as even worse things are starting to surface. If you're shocked by the developments surrounding Chumlee, don't forget to share this video with your friends, like and comment to let us know your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest updates and shocking stories. Rick Harrison, the prominent face of Pawn Stars, was once the embodiment of the American dream, a middle-aged, rough-around-the-edges yet witty man with vast knowledge of antiques and a deep devotion to his family. But everything came crashing down in one night. A video less than a minute long leaked from the secret room in Rick's mansion, shocking the public. In it, Rick stands casually before a display case containing a woman's corpse, meticulously made up and dressed glamorously, as if ready to walk the red carpet. There's no panic, no fear, just a chilling tenderness. The silence in the clip made it the most damning evidence, enough to shatter the image of the all-American man the public once trusted. No one could have imagined that a nationally shocking case would start from a forgotten storage unit in the outskirts of Las Vegas. Darren Lockhart, a little-known YouTuber who specializes in opening abandoned storage bins, had attended a regular auction at Storage Masters. For $130, he bought Unit 17, which contained large wooden crates and several small boxes with the familiar logo of Rick Harrison's gold and silver pawn shop. He was hoping to find a few pieces of jewelry to resell. But when the metal door opened, a strong, pungent smell of decaying chemicals hit him. Curious as always, Darren started recording and opened the first crate, only to be stunned to find the well-preserved body of a woman, dressed in a glamorous evening gown, wearing lace gloves, with perfectly styled hair and makeup. The scene looked like a lifeless doll, and Darren could only vomit before calling 911. The authorities quickly sprang into action. When the remaining 2 crates were opened, 2 more corpses were revealed, each preserved in a distinct style. One of them was holding a bouquet of flowers, while the other clutched a handbag and handkerchief. It all seemed meticulously arranged, as if they were set to participate in a macabre art show. The tags attached to their bodies even bore names: 1982 Beauty Queen and Golden Age MG. There was no mistaking it. MG stood for Melanie Granger, the famous singer who vanished without a trace in 2009 in Las Vegas. The title of 1982 Beauty Queen referred to Patricia Kellerman, the former Miss California, who disappeared after a charity event in Los Angeles. These names, once thought to be buried in unsolved case files, now resurfaced in the most horrifying way, like whispers of forgotten deaths. As the police searched more thoroughly, they found a leather-bound notebook at the bottom of one of the wooden crates. The cover simply read, "Personal Property," but it could be the key to unlocking the entire criminal network hidden behind Rick Harrison's polished exterior. And this was just the beginning. Inside a forgotten notebook, there was a list of more than 20 names, accompanied by photos and detailed notes such as height, identifying features, acquisition dates, and preservation status. Many of the names on the list matched missing persons cases that had spanned decades. These names were no longer just faded memories. Now they were etched in the form of carefully preserved corpses, part of a dark secret no one had dared imagine. What made everything even clearer was the fact that Rick Harrison, the owner of the gold and silver pawn shop, had appeared multiple times in the notes related to these bodies. Authorities quickly connected the dots between the pawn shop's logo, Rick's handwriting, and payments from a bank account, all pointing directly to Rick Harrison. It didn't take long to realize that these traces were not just related to storage unit purchases, but also revealed a very dark side of Rick's life that the public had no idea about. Rick Harrison, a familiar face to the nation through Pawn Stars, was now linked to 3 corpses preserved as bizarre works of art. The public couldn't believe what they were hearing. Rick Harrison, the man they had watched every night on Pawn Stars, was now implicated in a horrifying murder case. Within just 12 hours, the story of the bodies preserved in Rick's secret room spread across the United States. Google searches were flooded with keywords like Rick Harrison, porn star, murder crime, and Hollywood morgue. The FBI quickly issued a statement that they were investigating an organized network involved in the preservation and display of corpses. However, no suspects were publicly named. Less than 24 hours later, the History Channel had to remove all episodes of Pawn Stars from its online platform, and sponsorship deals with Rick were canceled. From a beloved TV personality, Rick Harrison had now become a dangerous suspect. But the most terrifying aspect of the case was not the number of bodies, but how they were treated, preserved, cared for, and arranged like macabre works of art. The meticulous details in the way the corpses were arranged sent a chill down everyone's spine. Just days after the video leaked, a short clip surfaced that shook everyone to their core. In the video, Rick Harrison stands before one of the preserved bodies, smiling as he adjusts the wig on the corpse. There is no violence or blood, just the coldness and stillness in Rick's gaze. This video replaced all legal statements and completely shattered the image Rick had built over the years. It was the first blow in a case that not only changed Rick's life, but also tore apart the trust of an entire nation. Three days after the video was leaked, the FBI carried out a large-scale raid on Rick Harrison's mansion. Located in an isolated area on the outskirts of Las Vegas, the house was not just Rick's home, but also the place where terrifying secrets were hidden. The 800-square-meter house, surrounded by high walls and dense greenery, stood as a symbol of the American dream that Rick had proudly flaunted on television. But few knew that behind those walls lay a secret that would shock the entire nation. The raid began at 5:17 a.m., opening a new, dramatic chapter in the investigation. The search warrant was approved just hours earlier, and within 9 minutes, Rick Harrison was arrested in the main hallway of his mansion. According to reports, he appeared completely unprepared, almost naked, stammering, "What's going on?" as if the storm of events outside had nothing to do with him. However, the focus wasn't on Rick, but on what he had hidden inside his mansion. The house was divided into several areas: a luxurious living room, a classic library, and a spacious garage. But all of these were just facades. The true target of the raid was behind a secret door hidden behind a bookshelf in the library. The door was not part of the original design of the house, meaning it had been intentionally added to hide something. Once the door was opened, a narrow, dark hallway emerged, colder than the rest of the house. A faint chemical smell lingered in the air, and at the end of the hallway there was a solid steel bar. This door was protected by an electronic keypad and biometric lock. When it was opened, the scene inside left some agents frozen in horror. One of them described, "I've seen murder scenes before, but this looked like a morgue designed by a mad artist." The space inside was not a typical storage room or cold unit. It was a morgue-like museum. The four walls were lined with industrial freezers. Each drawer was labeled with a name, date, and notes, such as S. Grant ready for display or head prep incomplete. Some bodies were still in the freezers, while others were displayed in glass cases, dressed in evening gowns, high heels, and even makeup. The scene resembled something from a science fiction movie, yet it was eerily real. In the center of the room were three large display cases, each containing a fully preserved body posed like fashion models. One sat cross-legged holding a handbag, while the other stood gazing sideways in a shimmering cocktail dress. One of the bodies was later identified as Stephanie Grant, a former model who had gone missing in 2021. She had attended a red carpet event and was wearing the exact same dress she had worn the last time she was seen. Surrounding the bodies were security cameras, hard drives filled with data, and countless handwritten notes. Some notes read, "Complete hair, needs a hint of pink vanilla fragrance," or "Check 5 or 17 in the corner." Near a workstation, embalming tools such as syringes, scalpels, makeup brushes, and cotton swabs were neatly arranged, along with chemicals for preserving the bodies. What puzzled forensic psychologists was not just the preservation, but the staging of each body. Every corpse was treated like a carefully displayed piece of art, with a clear purpose behind it. The display cases were equipped with adjustable LED lights, and the angles of the bodies were meticulously calculated to allow viewers to fully appreciate their beauty. Nearby, a laptop contained a folder titled Hollywood Collection. Inside this folder were hundreds of photos, videos, and detailed descriptions of each body, along with sections on preservation status, preparation stages, and personal impressions. The most disturbing discovery was a subfolder labeled Final Placement, outlining the proposed display locations for each corpse. The forensic team seized 17 bodies, including 6 that had been dismembered. 3 hard drives were found, filled with video data, and 2 Polaroid photo albums documenting the transformation process of the victims. They also uncovered a secondary room, an embalming workshop, complete with ancient human body molds and embalming instructions. Additional maps and storage locations in Nevada and Arizona were discovered, expanding the investigation to an even more terrifying scale. Not only did Rick Harrison store bodies, but he also managed, collected, and restored them as if they were historical artifacts. However, unlike the preservation of history, his actions were carried out without consent. Experts began to classify Rick as part of a rare criminal group known as human preservers. These individuals do not kill for the usual thrill, but because of a desire to permanently possess the image of another person. According to Dr. Lena Maravich, Rick's behavior was not impulsive. He acted as a collector, blinded by the belief that beauty must be preserved, even in death. As news of the raid spread, special news broadcasts aired images of helicopters circling Rick's mansion, with specialized trucks carrying sealed containers leaving the scene. The incident sent shockwaves through the United States, and these images left the world in disbelief. A long line of forensic experts in white suits began to move in, and the leaked video was the beginning of it all. Now, everything had become a defining symbol of a chilling reality. The man the public had seen nightly on their TV screens was now standing in a cold room, facing the dead. The question was no longer whether Rick had committed a crime, but how long he had been doing this, and more troubling still, whether there were others out there caught in the human preservation spiral. This case shattered every illusion about Rick Harrison that the media had built. For over a decade, Rick Harrison was regarded as the most lovable yet blunt man on television. He embodied the quintessential American archetype: bald, straightforward, a seller of used goods, passionate about history, and running a pawn shop in the heart of Las Vegas. The show Pawn Stars, which he co-founded, wasn't the typical sensational reality TV. It was a laid-back conversation about antiques, where people brought in odd items and shared the stories behind them. Rick was seen as a hard-working historian type with an ability to appraise, explain, and haggle, all while maintaining his humor and no-nonsense attitude. It was this simple formula that propelled him to unexpected levels of fame. The show attracted over 5 million viewers per episode at its peak, airing in more than 150 countries and turning the gold and silver pawn shop into a famous tourist destination. Rick made appearances on late-night talk shows, was interviewed on CNN about the gold market, taught negotiation skills at universities, and even published a memoir that became a New York Times bestseller. The public saw Rick as the man who overcame epilepsy, dropped out of school, and built a television empire from scratch. He was viewed as a strict but fair father, a straightforward yet humorous businessman, and a lover of culture and history. But now, all of this has come crashing down. When the FBI released the list of evidence they had seized, including a body storage freezer, notebooks, and leaked videos, the image of the People's Man collapsed. It wasn't just the brutality of the alleged actions, but also the shocking truth that the public could not comprehend how someone like Rick could lead a double life for decades without anyone suspecting. The answer lay in a blind spot that Rick had created for himself. He meticulously controlled his image, crafting a persona that was authentic and down-to-earth through the show, where he always showed respect for the past and spoke of war or death with reverence. However, over the years, there had been clear signs that were overlooked. In a 2014 interview, Rick mentioned purchasing a Victorian embalming kit and seemed quite excited about it. A former employee recalled that Rick had a private area in the shop where he displayed strange items like death masks, human hair, and real teeth. Rick even suggested filming an episode in a morgue, an idea that the production team rejected as too dark. These signs now appear as warnings that were ignored, and psychology refers to this as confirmation bias. When we believe someone is good, we only look for evidence to support that belief, while unconsciously overlooking contradictory signs. Rick Harrison became a victim, or more accurately, a beneficiary of the persona he had created. The media played a crucial role in protecting that mask. Pawn Stars generated massive revenue, attracting viewers and easily airing during prime time without controversy. Television companies didn't want to upset their star, and when rumors circulated about Rick being eccentric or having a morbid obsession with death, the press dismissed them as harmless gossip. This allowed Rick to maintain the image he had crafted until the truth was finally exposed. Las Vegas vin hung jong gop qua min chonen van hojia fuong. The quirky stories that no one ever truly investigated have now become a terrifying reality. The public had grown accustomed to Rick's image on TV, with no reason to doubt him. He wasn't involved in scandals like infidelity, drunk driving, or financial fraud. On the contrary, Rick had donated to charities, paid tuition for underprivileged children, and was praised by the city of Las Vegas for his contributions to local culture. The contrast between his public achievements and the hidden truth has left people not just angry, but feeling betrayed. Rick Harrison wasn't just someone accused of committing gruesome acts. He was a symbol of a specific kind of success, and that's why this case is so shocking. We haven't just lost a television personality, we've lost the belief that what we see on screen is real. If you're shocked by the hidden truth behind Rick Harrison's public persona, don't forget to share this video with your friends, like, and comment to let us know your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the latest shocking stories and updates. The leaked video remains the heart of this story. It not only reveals a gruesome act, but also shows that Rick showed no hesitation or guilt when interacting with the bodies. No fear, no panic, no shame. He didn't play the role of someone trying to hide something, because in Rick's world, there was nothing to hide. And perhaps that's the most terrifying part of all. Among the items seized from Rick Harrison's mansion, nothing was more shocking than a folder titled Hollywood Collection. The name sounded like an art exhibit or a historical film archive project, but its contents left the investigative team, despite being prepared for the worst, stunned. This folder contained hundreds of photos, videos, and personal notes about the works Rick had preserved, restored, and displayed over nearly 2 decades. What was most disturbing was that most of these works had once been real people, many of whom were once famous, celebrated on stage, appeared on screen, or lived in the public eye. The Hollywood Collection was not a random title. It perfectly reflected Rick Harrison's obsession and purpose, achieving immortality through fame and possessing eternal beauty untouched by time. In the notes found, Rick used phrases like, "She has been saved," "no longer under the pressure of fame," and "for the last time, everything is placed in its rightful place." His mindset was a twisted combination of savior complex, extreme possessiveness, and warped sexual psychology, which became the key to understanding his crimes. According to the FBI's analysis, Rick had a clear profile for his collection. The women, aged between 18 and 35, were connected to the entertainment industry, regardless of how insignificant their roles might have been. Among the 17 bodies found, at least 9 had appeared on television or had careers in modeling, music, or acting. Some had even participated in reality TV shows, competing with adult film stars. These faces were not random. They represented what Rick described as faded fame or forgotten beauty, which he saw as an opportunity to preserve forever. In the Hollywood collection folder, the victims were organized by the year they achieved their preservation status and their aesthetic categorization. Rick created classifications like Golden Age beauty queens, silent film actresses, and forgotten musicians. There were also more subjective labels like innocent smile and unblinking eyes. This was not merely a filing system. It was Rick's way of turning each person into a symbol, stripping away their humanity to fit a role in his macabre vision. Like an art manager, he categorized his victims based on the emotions they evoked, rather than their true identities. One prominent document was a printed catalog titled Preservation Series Vol Wang, featuring edited photos in a classic aesthetic style, accompanied by brief biographies resembling an art exhibition. Beneath each image was a chilling caption such as, "She was once the light of the stage, now preserved forever in the cold light," or "The evening gown returns ownership, and I choose to keep it forever." Rick's language was cold and poetic, reflecting a deeply warped ideology where people were mere vessels to serve his definition of beauty. The systematic nature of the collection led investigators to believe that Rick's actions were not impulsive. Everything was planned and executed meticulously. Audio recordings found in the files revealed Rick speaking to the corpses as though they were old friends. He whispered their names and said things like, "You don't need to try to smile anymore. The spotlight will never fade, and I will keep you just as you should be." These words indicated that Rick was not just preserving the bodies. He was creating a reality where the victims became part of his eternal collection, one that only he had the power to control. Rick Harrison didn't just preserve the bodies, he transformed them into exhibits, assigning them roles, meanings, and stories of their own. One of the victims was placed in a glass case, inside which was a microphone and an old photograph of her with her family. Outside the case, a handwritten note read, "Her last night has come, but no one remembers what I did." Footage extracted from Rick's private servers shows that each body underwent at least 3 stages: collection, restoration, and display. During the restoration phase, Rick would spend hours applying makeup, trying on wigs, and selecting outfits. A nearly 3-hour video shows him sitting silently, staring at a corpse as if painting a portrait. There were no dialogues, only soft classical music playing in the background. This wasn't the behavior of someone trying to conceal a crime. It was the behavior of someone who believed they were creating art. Some videos in the Hollywood collection folder were labeled as authorized, suggesting that Rick may have shared his collection with others who shared his depraved interests. An encrypted email indicated that someone had requested a young blonde corpse with an innocent expression and was willing to pay extra if the outfit was authentic. This was no longer the aberration of a single individual. It could be part of an underground market. The question now is whether Rick's creations were meant solely for him, or if a larger network exists where death is packaged, preserved, and traded as a luxury commodity. The irony of it all lies in the fact that Rick Harrison, a man who once educated television audiences about the historical value of antiques, failed to recognize the value of human life. He sought to preserve the beauty and stillness of time, but did so by violating the most sacred boundary: death. His collection is not only evidence of a crime, but also a grotesque portrait of how fame and power can distort morality. The saddest part is that many of his victims once dreamed of being remembered, of being recognized, but their immortality came in a twisted and horrifying form, a literal, distorted one. When the leaked video first surfaced, the world witnessed a cold, meticulous Rick Harrison adjusting the hair on a corpse. However, after the Hollywood collection was revealed, the public understood that this was not a random act, but part of a process, a ritual, a horrific art project with Rick as the director, the curator, and the sole audience. What makes this case go beyond ordinary crimes is the fact that Rick may have never believed he did anything wrong. From personal crimes to signs of an international black market, what initially appeared to be the actions of a deviant individual has now become something far more sinister. Investigators decrypted data from Rick's private servers and uncovered a chilling new direction. Rick's creations were not just for him, they could be part of a sophisticated underground market where death is traded as a commodity. The first clue came from an encrypted email found in the Hollywood collection folder. The content of the email revealed that a client had requested the delivery of a corpse with product details described as Subject 221B, display, eyelid restoration completed. Phrases like reconstruction and immediate delivery raised red flags for investigators. In reality, this was not a personal aberration, but a meticulously organized system where corpses were treated like luxury goods, traded in a dark underground market. The sender in these transactions was listed as a shell company based in the Bahamas, with no website or public employees. Further investigation revealed that the company's payment account matched an overseas account that Rick had previously used for real estate investments. This account had received over $2.7 million over the course of 6 years, with the majority of transactions recorded as consulting fees or private buyouts. The FBI, working with Interpol and the Department of Homeland Security, expanded the investigation to include international trafficking. Their findings shattered the hypothesis that Rick was merely a solitary deviant. Over the past decade, airports in the U.S., Germany, France, and Japan had intercepted shipments labeled as medical specimens, containing highly unusual human-like structures such as real skin, intact blood vessels, and perfectly preserved organs. These shipments were initially declared as anatomical teaching models. Due to a lack of clear evidence, many of these packages were either seized or allowed through after cursory checks. Now, old records have been revisited, and in at least 3 cases, the packaging methods of these shipments perfectly matched the display cases found in Rick's mansion. A shipment intercepted at Frankfurt Airport in 2017 contained biological display specimens shipped from Las Vegas, packaged with preservation instructions in English. Authorities now believe this could be one of the pieces from Rick's Hollywood collection, sold overseas through black market transactions. Payment records show the recipient as a management club organization in Luxembourg, a group previously suspected of being involved in post-war body part trafficking. Leaks from the investigation reveal that at least 4 individuals in Europe and East Asia have received similar shipments over the past 5 years. All 4 were members of private anthropological heritage collecting associations, organizations that operate in a legal gray area, ostensibly focused on preserving historical artifacts, but frequently facing accusations of trafficking in suspicious items. This has elevated the case from a national crime to an international scandal. Another chilling detail in the investigation was Rick's use of advanced encryption protocols, with IP addresses routed through multiple countries. In a folder titled Custom Orders, investigators discovered customer requests written in code, such as Y4C, blonde, 20 years old, no prior injuries, keep face intact. Beneath the request was a priority note: condition of presence known to be pristine. Investigators suspect that these requests were not just orders for corpses selected based on appearance, reputation, and preservation status, but also support the theory that Rick didn't just choose victims for personal gain, but also to meet the demands of the market. A criminologist remarked, "The trafficking of human corpses is not new, but personalizing and managing them into a structured system like Rick's is unprecedented." Investigators now believe that Rick was not just a deviant. He was the creator of a sophisticated system where death was exchanged and preserved as a valuable product, serving the dark desires of an international underground market. Rick Harrison combined 3 elements: crime, collecting culture, and a commercialization mechanism to create a horrifying model with its own structure and logic. In a press conference, the FBI confirmed that they were monitoring 6 foreign accounts linked to Rick's financial activities. These accounts spanned multiple countries, handling transactions totaling $9.3 million from 2012 to 2022. None of this money matched Rick's legitimate income from his adult entertainment or antique businesses. Meanwhile, international shipping companies were also under close scrutiny, with some specialized carriers for rare collectibles suspected of being involved in the transportation of human remains under labels such as anatomical models, heritage anatomical specimens, or restoration test fragments. A source revealed that a shipment passed through customs with a fake certificate bearing the seal of a non-existent private museum in Belgium. This pointed to a chilling conclusion. Rick Harrison may be a key figure, if not the central figure, in an underground network trafficking human remains, operating like a secret luxury market. This is no longer the story of a lone deviant. The leaked video from Rick's home sparked it all. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lies a dark ecosystem, where death is not only sculpted, preserved, and traded, but also admired as a form of art. When the list of victims in the Hollywood collection was revealed, investigators realized they weren't just dealing with a case involving a large number of bodies, but were facing a vast map of crimes spanning time and space. In the 3 weeks since the case broke, more than 28 missing persons cases in the U.S. have been reopened. Most of these had previously been classified as unsolved disappearances, with no clear cause, no evidence of criminal behavior, or were believed to be voluntary disappearances. Now, with Rick Harrison's case, these files are being pieced together, and an unexpected connection has been discovered. The man everyone once watched on television every night. The first thing that caught investigators' attention was the connection between Rick and many of the victims. In at least 10 cases, the victims had met Rick at autograph signings, conferences, or entertainment events, documented through photos, videos, or emails. One actress sent an email to her friends 3 days before she went missing, writing, "Rick Harrison really likes my classic look. He wants to collaborate on a project recreating old Hollywood. Sounds exciting." She was never seen again. In another case, a contestant from a competing adult reality show was identified as one of the bodies found in Rick's mansion. A photo of her in a red dress at the show's finale perfectly matched the outfit the corpse was dressed in for display in the glass case. The list of missing persons continued to grow as the FBI traced Rick's movements through credit card statements, personal flight records, and his attendance at collector conferences. An internal report revealed that Rick had been present in at least 16 cities within the same time frame as the disappearances, spanning from 2003 to 2021. At an event in Reno in 2008, Rick had signed memorabilia for twin sisters Leah and Lauren Wilder, two young models who disappeared 48 hours later. Their bodies were found inside Rick's cold storage room, dressed in identical dresses and labeled as mirror twins. A significant breakthrough came from the FBI's AI facial recognition program. They ran all episodes of Pawn Stars, behind-the-scenes videos, and event photos against a database of missing persons. The result was 8 victims who appeared near Rick on television, even for just a few seconds. One entered the store in a silent scene, another submitted an antique for appraisal and received praise from Rick. Analysts believe this was not a mere coincidence. Rick Harrison seemed to have a distinct aesthetic preference, particularly for young women with a classic look. These individuals weren't necessarily A-list stars, but rather people who left a visual impression on Rick. Another detail that reinforced this theory was the notes found in the collection, often containing descriptions like "forgotten beauty," "eyes once worshipped," or "she deserves to be remembered at her peak." The bodies were not desecrated but restored, posed, and preserved to maintain the very features that had made them stand out on stage or screen. The way Rick transformed each victim into a living artifact, a part of his eternal collection, revealed a morbid obsession with preserving and owning what he considered perfect beauty. The police and the families of the victims began filing petitions to reopen lawsuits against History Channel, demanding accountability and the truth about what happened under the shadow of the popular television show. The case was not only a criminal investigation, but also a profound shock to the public's trust in what they had believed in for many years. The allegations claim that a network indirectly sheltered a deviant man through the public image he had built. Several class action lawsuits are being prepared, targeting production companies, insurance firms, and media partners who had marketed Rick's persona for years. The entertainment industry, especially reality TV, has fallen into panic. Many producers are hastily auditing past collaborations with Rick, fan meet-and-greet events, and unsupervised live stream clips that were previously overlooked, such as when Rick jokingly talked about wanting to collect Marilyn Monroe if he had a time machine. These actions are now being re-examined with fear. At least 6 former production staff members have submitted reports to the FBI about Rick's unusual behavior behind the scenes. These reports raised questions about post-mortem skin tone, skin preservation methods, and the recreation of the final gaze. On social media, amateur investigative groups quickly formed, and Reddit users began dissecting every Pawn Stars footage, piecing together behind-the-scenes photos, zooming in on previously overlooked details. A blurry painting in Rick's office appeared to resemble a reimagined corpse. An episode was removed from streaming platforms just one day after airing, prompting the online community to dub it the zombie files of reality TV. They claimed that Rick had staged the entire process of selecting, approaching, and luring victims right under the bright lights of the cameras in front of a national audience. From a leaked video inside Rick's mansion, the entire criminal network was uncovered. Dozens of forgotten missing persons cases were brought back to life in the most literal sense. What began as a reality TV show has forced the entire industry to confront its hardest question: how much of the reality was scripted, edited, and erased before the truth was finally revealed? The investigation continues with unidentified agencies, encrypted emails, and shipments sent to unknown locations still under close surveillance. The biggest question still remains: how many more are locked away in other collections managed by individuals like Rick Harrison? Those who know how to smile for the camera but remain silent when the lens turns away. We may never know the full truth, but this case leaves an unforgettable lesson. Never confuse familiarity with safety, and never assume that someone beloved in the public eye cannot be dangerous in the shadows. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on upcoming episodes.